Greetings and welcome to another excellent chess game. Now, I played this 3-minute blitz game, and it turned out to be more interesting than I anticipated. It was just, a goof-off game, whatever. And I'm playing black against this guy. And so we play a Dutch defense. Now, he's playing I'm clueless and I only know how to play the London system because it's a very safe, it's cowardly safe, all right? The thing about the London system is it's nothing spectacular. Black gets to try whatever formation he's familiar with, which is what I do. And I beat him because the resulting combinations are part of the Dutch defense, not the London system. So I don't care for the London system. I mean, if you want to be a bum player that can get to a decent level, and this guy was like 1900 plus, you can play that. If you want to actually be good, don't play the London system. Play something else, something that forces you to learn. You need to lose games learning the theme of your opening because that will make you stronger. So the irony is that your win percentage might be slightly better in the London in the short term, but if you want to win anything of any value down the road, it's a bad opening system that retards your development. That's really what, as a player, that's what's wrong with it. Okay, so he's not stopping me from playing my Queen's Indian formation, and that's what he's getting. Queen's Indian Dutch. All right. All his moves are solid moves, good squares, bishop e2, bishop d3, tomato, tomato. But these are low-risk moves, which is not necessarily bad. But like I said, the problem is you develop a bad habit. And it's very much, you're in a cocoon, afraid to spread your wings, butterfly. So instead of the butterfly emerging from the cocoon as a full butterfly, it's like the butterfly would just live and die in the cocoon for the protection that it offers. So here we go, bishop check. He has to move the knight forward. Doesn't matter. This is fine. I'm here to take it. Give myself a slight pawn structure advantage. The advantage of this is that the pawn structure for black is super solid on the queen side. All right. Don't be fancy. That's what my dad said, so I'm not being fancy. He's used 5 seconds. I've used 8. Now, in a blitz game, it's good because, this opening he's playing is good because he has a thematic familiarity with what's going on. So he can play good moves fast, which is very effective in blitz games. In blitz games, you don't always have to play the fantastic move that takes you time to figure out. Playing good moves or very good moves fast is hard to beat. And that's what I'm doing too. I'm playing from my memory of 40 years of Dutch defense. Okay. And I'm jumping in the whole square, which is e4 with my knight. And it's just all even stuff. This is a very normal-ish looking formation for both black and white. It happens all the time. a4, a5 instantly. He wants to play a5 and dictate what happens on the queen side. Well, no. That's not happening. Okay, so rook ed1. It's okay. It's not good or bad necessarily. It's not doing anything. I would say rook b1 is better. That or either rook to b1. Trying to perhaps double on that file. What have you. That's the only semi-open file is the b file. D file can be closed down very easily. So he's looking to move his queen so they can not have to face knight takes c3, which is fine. Myself was like, I'm going to the king side, brother. He wants to stop me. I'm like, okay. Now, here's the dealio. Playing G6 is the move. If you want to play H6 and G5, but if you play H6, he's going to play H5, and you're not going to be able to play that move. G5 is going to be a problem because, you know, he would just take, and then this pawn is vulnerable. So G6 first. If he wants to play bishop here, we just go rook F7, and we'll boot him out. It's not a problem. That bishop cannot hold H6. Knight G4 will stop it. So it's not a big deal. But this is here to play King G7 and then H6. So he wants to come in here, and I'm like, that doesn't do anything. Knight takes isn't really great because he gets to play whatever he wants. If he wants to play H takes G5, it's actually pretty solid. I don't want to face that. I mean, I could come back and hit him with E5, D takes, and then D takes, and then his rook looks like a genius, okay? So his rook here does have a value. It retards the black desire to play E5. Okay, so I don't take it. I don't mess with him. Well, you want to take me? I'll take back with the bishop. Or in some cases, with the knight. The point is, he's not threatening anything. You know, what's he trying to do to me? He doesn't have any threats. No threats on E6, no threats on H7, no threats on E4. I am totally not worried. Now he goes here. At this point, I have to take him, which is fine. He plays H takes G5, but I hit him with a good counter. Bang! And the point behind this move is that his bishop's going to go back to passivity on H2, and I'm going to press this F pawn business. And then if necessary, I'm going to, win this pawn here. After I play F4, I can win this G pawn very easily with Queen E7. So this is not going the way that a London player wants it to go. Because this is not the type of tactical formation, it's a strategic formation, but the tactics that arise from this formation is not predictable. This is predictable from a Dutch defense standpoint. So someone like this guy who plays, I would say he plays a lot of London system, okay? I play a lot of Dutch. I see this kind of stuff more than he does. So he's at a slight disadvantage in this regard, if this is the case. And it would explain why the game went the way it went. So he's going passivity. I know from studies of games and experience in general, he has two bishops. But look, this bishop is clogged. This bishop is clogged. Having two bishops clogged isn't an advantage, per se. So he can play pawn takes. I'll play knight takes. And if he plays bishop takes, rook takes. This is not favoring white. The machine says it's favoring white slightly, but that's a machine. That's not a person. Now, the good thing is this guy's a legitimate player. And so I'm playing a legitimate human. So this position is better for me as a legitimate human than it is for him as a legitimate human, because he has to generate new ideas that he's never seen. Well, I have some ability to use older ideas that I have seen because I played this kind of formation a lot. So he decides, no, I'm going to lock the formation. He's used 29 seconds. He's 2 minutes 31 seconds. I'm 1 minute 43 left. I got plenty of time to beat him. But he's playing in a way to cash in on his time advantage. So that's part of the, game of blitz chess. So he's like, keep it closed, which, like I said, is not that great. It seems better than it is, but there is a smart element behind it. So here, I'm going to blunt this bishop, and I'm just going to win this G pawn. There's nothing he can do about it. He decides to super close it. I'm like, bro, okay, you had to take, and I have to take. And then we'll just go, hey, we'll see who's got the better idea, okay? But if he does take and take, then this bishop can go back, and I can mess with his A pawn to a degree. I don't know what he's thinking. I can only surmise what he's thinking based upon the moves that he plays. So there is a solidity to keeping the formation closed, but he's got a giant pawn here. And my knight is better than his giant pawn at this point. So, fine. I'm like, good. You just made the decision for me. I can play bishop d7, threatening this pawn, and I'm also threatening the king side light diagonal that goes to a3. h3, sorry. So he goes, queen b3, bishop d7, just, massaging this guy. Now he's got almost a minute advantage. He's got 228, I have 134. But the storm is coming. I know the storm is coming. And I'm not worried about it. Because I'm also playing, now I've got to really set up structure. So long term, this is relatively easy to handle. I'm going to play queen e7 and queen takes free pawn. And there's not a whole lot he can do about it. In fact, there's nothing he can do about it. He could have played maybe king f2, g3, and tried to fight back that way. I'm still going to take it. Or he could have played, a different move. Now he's rerouting his queen. Like, whatever, broski. He is just minus 3.3. He's a full piece down positionally, according to the computer. Now, I don't have a bar like this, but in my mind, I'm completely happy with this because every piece of mine is doing something. Bishop is threatening to do stuff on the light squares here as well. The only piece is going to come to f8. I am definitely going to go down the f file, and there's not a damn thing he could do about it. All right? I'm moving with purpose. So, queen takes g5. Queen to d2. I'm moving pretty fast. Now, he's taking more time because what's happened is that the position for white has gotten less clear. It's clear for black. Black is going to do stuff. There's going to be maneuvers to open up h5, queen h6, g5, g4, and just hammer on this king side. He's not stupid. He's going back to defend the dark squares, help the bishop. A good idea. So here, knight f6, the whole idea is to play h5, queen h6, g5, g4. He's in trouble. And he's getting out of dodge. So, again, you've got to give this guy credit for playing some good moves here. I'm playing faster than he is right now, and so he's losing his time. He's got 209. I have 121. But I have a 3.6 advantage here on the king side, and it's killing him. Nothing has happened materially yet, all right? But I'm working it, and I've got my plan, and I've been executing my plan. Knight f6, h5, queen h6, g5 is coming. That really doesn't do anything. He's trying to go and maybe trade this knight off. Not today. He plays here. I'm not even paying attention to this. I'm winning this. I'm like, this really isn't a threat. I should really play b takes. I can play, actually, no, I can play, the best move would be d takes. Let's see what the computer says here. That's the move. The reason why this is the move is that this rook is still blunted on the b file. Normally you'd play b takes, but in this case I'm going to play d takes c5 because he's got literally nothing. He can play a d6 move, but who cares, all right? That's the best move. That's not what I played. I'm playing for the attack. And he is in trouble. So he takes it. I take back. Bishop takes. Whoop-de-doo. See if you can guess what move I'm going to play here. I think it's fairly obvious. My attack is going beautifully. Pawn takes. Create a permanent weakness. Oh, the bishop. That's even better, dude. Couldn't be any better. So now here I'm threatening to check him on a6 as a possibility bonus tactic. He goes c4. Well, guess what? Guess what's not moving? That pawn. Now he's going to waste another piece to defend this. And notice his rook cannot go to b4 to defend it, so if he wants to defend with the rook, he's got to leave the file. It's just annoying. This is annoying. I've sacrificed that pawn back. It's 5 pawns on each side, but I'm still, 1.7 ahead on just position. But this is where the hammer is happening. Down the G file. Here we go. Or you take that pawn. What does that pawn do? This pawn is pinned again. I pinned to a queen and a king. Eat it. Oh, you're in so much trouble, it's not even funny. Now, the problem he has is if he takes my knight, I could play pawn takes or queen takes. My gut reaction was to play queen takes with powering down the G file, but pawn takes might actually also be useful. I would have to, reform and put my heavy pieces on the H file. Well, whatever. But he's like, well, he doesn't really want to take it. I'm like, well, good. Now I'm going to really annihilate you. Knight E3 is just a crushing move. The bar is not off the charts yet, but this knight is now worth at least a rook. It's that good. And you're going to get hammered on G2 at whatever whim I decide. That's an awful move. He needs to play rook to A2 to defend this laterally. He can't play rook C2. That's why this knight's worth a rook. Rook A2, knight C2. Rook C2 is no good. I just take a free rook. Rook A2 defending this, but he gets hammered if he does that because I get a bishop check. So you see his position is awful. This A6 bishop is doing something thanks to the fact that he let my knight go to E3. That was a big mistake. Now, every move he makes is probably a bad move. He's like positional zugzwang, at least a small version. So now, time is 1 minute 38 for my opponent, 1:03 for myself. Like I said, I've been moving much more rapidly because the plan I had, seen is unfurling before your very eyes with little thinking required. Once you have constructed this plan, it's pretty straightforward stuff. This is what I call chess eye. I'm able to play moves very fast that are all good moves. He's getting hammered by queen to G3 is coming. I take your pawn. And this is one of those, it's just nasty. This position is just nasty for him. If he loses, sacrifices the exchange for the bishop, knight takes, I'm just going to go right back to E3 anyway. He's not gaining anything. Oh, you want this pawn? Well, you can have it, sir. How does that sound? You could just have that pawn. Now it says it's a mate in 4. And I'm going to be honest, I don't see the actual direct mate in 4. But let's play this. This is the move because now it's mate in 3. King G1, forced only move. Wonder if queen takes is mate. Takes, bishop takes, rook takes check. King goes to H1 is the only move. No, I don't think that's the checkmating move. But I have queen takes free bishop. That's the killer. Queen takes free bishop is a monster. Because if he plays a rook up anywhere and just chop it off, queen goes back, and I'm threatening rook takes. So he's just annihilated. It's not his fault. At this point, the attack, the sword of Damocles is my attack on his king, and it's just hanging there. And it affects people. And you're seeing the effects of a long-term, in game-wise, not in physical minutes. But he's been looking at this barreling attack down the king side, and it gets on you. And what makes it worse is that I'm playing fast moves that are good because they're based in a plan. They're not based in cheap shot tactics. So he's just getting annihilated. This was it turns out this is mate in 8 if I play knight takes. I see that this is just winning because I get a check, and this is the chess eye sees this. I'm not wasting time calculating for 40 seconds and maybe checkmating him. You know, in a real tournament game, I'm playing queen takes bishop, and he will resign. Because I would have seen, I wasn't looking for this. I was looking for checkmate. And this looks more like a checkmating move than queen takes free bishop, although queen takes free bishop is also checkmating. You know, this is one of those things. Play the win you see is what my dad would say. And knight takes g2 is a win. It's the one I see. That's the one I'm playing. Yes, objectively, queen takes bishop is a better move. No question. But it doesn't matter. In the end, when someone watches this happen in live in a tournament, they're like, man, that was an awesome win that you had. They don't say, well, you know, you played this other move that would have won maybe 4 moves sooner. No one ever says that. Because any chess player knows that when you win, you've done something difficult. And play the win that you see. Doesn't matter if it's made in 100 and you see made in 100. Go for it. Well, he took his pawn that he wanted, and you can have it. I'm not really worried, because now he's staring at an obvious win. Check wins the bishop, and even worse, like I said, I was looking for checkmate. And as my dad would say, know your checkmates. So I hit him with an instantaneous 2 seconds, not instantaneous, but almost instantaneous, 2 seconds ladder checkmate. Rook on the G file, queen on the H file. But, I mean, bishop takes pawn is just an awful move. But it's under time pressure. He actually has, at this moment, after he plays bishop takes d6, he had 1:28 seconds. So he used half of his time, basically, a hair more than that. But psychologically, what got him is that the pressure was shifted right directly, you know, like cannons facing you. So he's staring down the triple cannons, if you want to call it, the rook, and the queen. And this is one of those things you have to train for this kind of stuff, because if you don't know when it's going to mess you up. It's going to cause you problems if you don't train for this kind of stuff by playing, for example, 5-Minute Puzzle Rush or other blitz chess live like I played back in the 80s and the 90s. So all of these things are helpful to your chess ability. And he got caught because the opening started his way, but it transformed to an opening that's more familiar to what I was doing. And you see that play out on the board because the tactics are Dutch defense tactics. These are not London system tactics. The London system tactics are different, and this game did not go in his favor positionally because he wasn't able to use the typical London system pressures and tactics on the position. So this got away from him strategically, because one of the weaknesses of the London system is if you play something like I do, a Queen's Indian Dutch defense hybrid. Here, the whole point of Queen's Indian and Dutch defense hybrid is to get a piece on e4 and use this as your transition hub. You get to do stuff like threaten c3. You can bring the second knight over here. You have power down this diagonal. There's a lot of things that can happen. None of these are happening to black. These are all happening by black to white because he's not forcing anything. His bishop that comes out, well, there's nothing wrong with it. It just doesn't have a real future on this diagonal. As you see, I played d6, and this really blunts the bishop. So it's one of those things that, you know, it's the player's ability to handle what's going on. I mean, this is already the computer is saying this is slightly better for black because black is creating the momentum. White's got no momentum. He's dodging at best. And, you know, he didn't lose any pieces. I mean, I could have taken his bishop, but which I didn't. And that was a mistake on my part. Technically, the computer would say I made a mistake in not taking his bishop, but the point of that whole attack was checkmate, which was successful. But as you see, I can take his bishop. He's got every piece. He did a solid job for most of the game. He got beaten. Dude, this bishop is so nasty on c4. He can't go. The knight on e3 is crushing on this rook. This rook is also crushed. Hilarious, he's got two rooks that can't do anything to defend his king. Hilarious from my perspective. It's horrible from his perspective. But this is what happens when you have a good player and the game gets away with, you know, away from him. You never really saw White do anything in this game that was threatening black very much. And he played that knight to g5 idea, that was a pretty good idea actually. But now I spent the most time I spent in the game was on this move. I spent 27 seconds, which is not normal for me, but it was like, you know, I don't need to take this. I don't want to take his knight unless he forces me to do it. I said, I'm just going to go and prepare. I'm preparing a kingside attack. Okay. He may not have seen this or thought, it's not nothing. You know, there's nothing going on here. And he goes f3, but, you know, f3 is a weakening move. So I got a concession off of his position for him to play f3. And his bishop is weak. The dark square bishop is a problem. Now, he could, but he can't play g3. If he plays g3, e5 wins a piece. D5, D takes, and then E takes again. So he can't go g3 and say, hey, you take this or I'll get this monster powerful structure. That doesn't happen. So he has to retreat. And then this is another key attacking move. I have to open this file for the rooks. He objectively should probably take this. Pawn takes. I don't think this is the right move. This, you know, e4, avoiding confrontation sounds good, but I think takes, knight takes, and then bishop takes, rook takes is his only chance to do something. And then he can play like g3. If I go rook here, he can go f4. Now he opens this diagonal for this bishop. It's kind of scary. And this is one of the things that players who play London system, they're kind of afraid of wild tactics. I'm also threatening to not only do that, but play queen to c6 and, you know, have a potential attack down the diagonal. So on the surface, this is a very good move. It solves the problem. There's not going to be any crazy, nasty cobra tactics from this bishop. That's what my dad would call it. Man, when he closed this up, it was like, dude, you have got this completely wrong. And the computer says that. I know this is wrong for White. This bishop is worthless. It's literally worthless. And this one isn't doing much. Okay, and that's the whole deal with all this maneuvering. I won the pawn. And, you know, like I said, if I was playing a tournament game, I'd have played D takes c5 and just slowly, you know, Python crushed him. I would have Python crushed him by playing D takes c5. But my attack is rolling and the moves are flowing. I didn't take it, but I should. Let's see what the computer says. Okay, the computer goes, after I pass it up, I'm down to 2.4. But if I take it, you know, it's 3.1, possibly more. So I was correct. Taking is the correct move. But not taking is also winning. It's just not winning as much. But this is going with my plan. The flow is going. I've got the momentum of the attack. And it's a good attack. It's not a garbage attack. If it's a garbage attack, it's not the same. But this is a good attack. And I'm forcing fixed weakness on G2. Man, that was awesome. It's like, okay, baby, you're in trouble. We're going to shove this bishop here. Now this pawn is trapped. And it becomes a future target, which we saw. This bishop is doing nothing, so I'm going to go in the dark squares. I got dark square protection. This white square business, no thanks. I don't want him doing something like, bishop somehow getting to the diagonal and then going bishop f5. So I said, well, lesser of two evils, king h8. I won't have to do much calculations of the way this is going. This is just awful. I mean, yeah, c5 looks like a good idea, right? You'll never live to play it. He's got to take this knight, man. This knight is too strong. But he's also worried potentially of h takes g4. This is death. This game is like almost no chance in hell of saving this position once I go knight to e3. That was another great move, though. It's like I didn't appreciate how great this move was. My spidey senses said take with the bishop. Leave the knight on the 6th rank because the rule is it's worth at least a rook. This is the pre-computer world rule. All right, pre-computer world, it's worth at least a rook. Okay? That's how known knight on the 6th rank was before computers. And so, my era is the pre-computer era. Now, I use computers, in the 80s, they started getting good. But I became a strong player pre-computers. The computers that existed at the time were weak. They were like 1,500, 1,600 at the top, 17. I remember when 1,700 was a big deal. The computer company entered their program in a tournament up front. It was like, hey, you can choose not to play the computer or play the computer. And the computer got 1,700 rated rated 1,700 from U.S. chess tournament, legit tournament. And then they had one that got 1,800, 1,900, 2,100. These kept going up and up and up. And so I was there before they were. I crossed the 2,000 barrier before the computers did. So when I say I'm from before computers of playing chess, you have to be at least 60 years old to be from before the eras of computers. Now they were, weaker computers, but better than your average players. The computers had already gotten better than the average tournament player, in the 80s. So these guys, I mean, I don't show the names that way. I'm not belittling anybody, but he got annihilated for a different reason. He didn't make any objectively bad blunders. The blunders, quote unquote, that he made were positional blunders. Okay, harder to spot. And this is what I was talking about. That if you play London system, it sounds good on paper, but what happens is when you play somebody who's a dynamic, classically trained chess player like myself, I ate his London like it was candy. It didn't offer much of a threat because he was constantly on defense. Not in an excellent defensive way, but he was very timid. Okay, because that's just the way it happens. I knew a guy who played like that, a really smart college professor. And he saw me. He first time he saw me, I was like 1,200. And this is second year of college for me. But I played him. I got one time, and I finally played him. Later on, he beat me early on. But after I cracked 1,800, I played him again, and I beat him. And he was like looking at me. It's like, I remember when you weren't there. He didn't say this, and it's not. He wasn't derogatory. But I'm saying in his mind, he's like, this guy used to not be good, and now he's beating the hell out of me. And he asked me, how did I do it? And I'm like, he should know. So anyway, that covers the whole deal there. That I turned the tables on this college professor, a very good player, but he played very similar to this style, that he was very anti-blunder, which is this guy played an anti-blunder style. But the problem with anti-blunder style is that if you take it too far, you just get positionally destroyed, which is how I beat him. You have to take chances and play things and learn why, you lose games in chess, my dad said. Chess is a game of mistakes. 100% correct. It's a game of mistakes. And so the mistakes that you make are blunders sometimes on the board, and other times they're blunders of philosophy. Playing overly cautious, quote, anti-blunder style is in itself a type of mistake. And even a really smart college professor and a very good chess player fell victim to this. He played this he didn't play the London system, but he played a very anti-confrontational. He was going to crush you because he was going to exploit blunders that you made, versus, getting into a clash and forcing it. So, he was a passive player in chess, and that's what got him. Now, and the other thing is he was close to 50 years old. I was 20. And the thing is, when you're 20 and you're, intelligent, et cetera, I'm on the chess rocket right up, baby. He was not. He was plateaued in the, upper 1700s, 1800s, and then he got to low 1900s. It's very hard to go forward when you're 50 years old, basically, plus or minus. So it's harder to get better. And so I was shocked that after I beat him in that tournament game, he's a college professor and he asks me how did I do what I did? I would think that a college professor of his mental powers would have been able to look at it and go, this dude is on the right. I mean, it's a compliment that he asked me how I did it. I couldn't answer him the way I'm explaining it to you here, because it would have seemed disrespectful. I couldn't think of a way to respectively tell him that he was too timid. So I kind of just had a generic answer that, I don't even remember what I said. I just remembered, what I do remember is I didn't tell him, look, you played this, defensive, super passive, afraid to make a mistake, style of play, because my age was, he was basically about the age of my father. And he knew my dad too, because my dad played tournaments, et cetera. So it was more than just myself. I didn't want to appear to be disrespectful to a man of his mental powers. Okay. And so I couldn't be completely honest, because when you're 20, you don't really 100% know. Now, if I was 40 and he asked me that, I would tell him a different answer, and he would understand the answer, because when you're 40, you have more experience and more credibility. That if you're just a 20-year-old guy, you'd say something that could be misconstrued as being rude. And I didn't want to be rude to him, because he was a super nice guy and a really good player. And, playing him helped me get better. And watching him play, when we played in the same chess club for a while, my dad and I would go over there and play in Texas City. They had a chess club there. And they invited us to go, okay, let's go over there and see what's going on, So we went over there. We were south of Houston. Texas City is southeast of Houston on the way towards Galveston. But I was 20 or 25 miles about from where we lived, ballpark. Not inconveniently far, not really, around the corner, but it was a chess club, different guys, and we wanted to play different players, because we knew those guys were all, 1600 and above. Okay, so it was a stronger group than what we had at my dad's college. So we're like, hey, let's go, take on the challenge of playing some, and help me get better, because I played those guys, and those guys were tough. And I went and I whipped butt over there. I learned to whip butt there, and then I moved up again when I went to the chess studio in Houston. That was where the big boys played, and it was a different level, dude. So you got to go up, from league to league to league to get better. It helps you to have opposition because there's no internet. There's no internet chess at all at this time in the 80s. So that is, an example of passive London player versus dynamic Dutch defense with a Queen's Indian hybrid. And I played it like you're supposed to play it, because he didn't intimidate my setup at all, because he plays passively. The London system played passively does like this. You might lose a game without losing a piece. He didn't lose a piece. Now, I could have taken the bishop, but I was checkmating him differently. It doesn't matter. But, he's like, well, I played pretty good, which he did play pretty good for a long time. But this is a death sentence. You don't want to play like this guy long term. So he stepped into a wrong philosophy of chess, and that's what caught him. And if I talk to him personally, I go, you obviously are a good player. He's over 1900. He's a good player, but he needs to lose games. You need to lose games dynamically to learn to play dynamically, so that you don't get rolled like he got rolled here by me, because I'm a dynamic player and he's a very passive player. That's what got him. So hopefully you learned from this game. It was a really good example of understanding a clash of styles. Look forward to seeing you guys in another video. And as always, like and subscribe.